Hey guys, welcome back to TLN. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with the President and CEO of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Rocco Rossi. Rocco, thank you for joining us. Always a pleasure to speak with you.
Pleasure to be with TLN and especially with you. Thank you for shining a light on these important issues.
Now, the last time we spoke, Rocco, was about 6 months ago, and we were discussing different strategies that Ontario businesses could implement to survive the pandemic. And obviously, we've seen tighter restrictions and more lockdowns. So just give us the rundown. What's the general attitude of business owners right now?
Well, it's incredibly difficult times, as you can imagine. This third wave with the more virulent variants has led to more restrictions, another lockdown, as you pointed out, and that's making it incredibly difficult for companies. And really, they're looking at four things. One, that the support programs that were in place, whether that's the wage subsidy, the rental subsidy, the small business recovery grants, all of these pieces need to continue in order to see the companies through to the other side of this crisis. Number two, we want the vaccination process to be as fast as possible. Canada started slow, we're speeding up, but more needs to be done. And particularly, we have to accelerate the vaccinations of our essential workers because they have to go to work every day. They put themselves on the line every day. They're at highest risk. And we're seeing that in the hospitals and cases now. And so really important to break that. We need to do more in the way of rapid testing. And now, glad to see that the province is stepping up with at least an initial proposal on paid sick days, because that's also important. No worker should have to make the choice between doing the right thing to protect public health and putting food on the table for their family. And so the three is a good start, but the province has put on the table a doubling of the federal program. And so those two levels have to come together so that the whole program is continuous, it's seamless, and not a problem for workers to get paid.
And just speaking on the topic of paid sick days, I mean, we did hear from Premier Ford at some point that this would be the best paid sick day program in North America. What is necessary to get to that point? What do you think would be a better proposal than what they just announced?
Well, look, technically, it's better than the one day that PEI gives, or the 2 days that Quebec gives, or the no days that the other provinces currently give. So that part is right, but I don't like comparisons to others. I like comparisons to what is it going to take to do the job to save all of the lives. Look, the bigger part of this sick day program is the offer that the province has put on the table of effectively doubling the amount for the sick pay program through the federal program. The problems with the federal program are really twofold. One, you have to apply, money comes later, and people living paycheck to paycheck, they can't have that. It has to be seamless. And two, the feds had set the amount at $500 a week, which is barely above minimum wage. And so by the province saying, look, we'll double that to $1,000 a week in Ontario, that's a very important step. But now we've got to make sure that it's seamless, that the 3 days can flow into the federal program so there's no gap for the worker. There's no need to fill out a whole bunch of forms, and the employers get reimbursed for providing the sick day pay directly to the employees. So those two levels of government need to sit down and fix this quickly.
And now, Rocco, I want to talk to you about the growing anxiety amongst business owners right now, because we don't really know when the lockdown is going to end. We don't really know if come end of May, come June, we're going to be able to open up and see restaurants and gyms and retail stores functioning. So, I mean, just given the current scenario, do you think that the lockdown is necessary right now and this is a good step? Or would you like to see maybe a modified lockdown where business owners can still operate?
Look, the only thing that is going to allow us to reopen and stay open is more vaccines in arms. People need to take the very first vaccine that they're able to. Governments have to bring more supply in, and we've got to get more out, particularly with frontline workers. Two, we need to do more in the way of testing, because there is no risk-free way of being open. And we've been doing this incredible pilot in Kitchener-Waterloo and Cambridge, looking to expand that. And I think that's going to be helpful to break the chain. And we've got to keep providing businesses with supports, because this is happening through no fault of their own. And if we don't want them all to go bankrupt, then we need to support them to get to the other side. And that includes continuing to order online when you can from your local businesses. We all have a role. It's not just up to the government.
And that is important to highlight, because as Mother's Day gets closer, as these important dates come closer, there are so many incredible local Ontario businesses that are providing gifts and opportunities and products. So definitely we need to make a push forward towards supporting our businesses.
And there's a very bright light at the end of this tunnel, because we've seen in Israel, we've seen in the United Kingdom, we're seeing in greater numbers in the US that as you get those vaccination numbers up, there is an opening, and people are going back, and they're talking about travel, et cetera. So let's stay tough, do the right things, and government has to do its job as well and get those vaccines in arms.
And I want to talk to you before we let you go about the 2021 budget that was announced. I mean, we are seeing a greater push towards underrepresented communities, towards women, more support for small businesses. What is your reaction to this? Do you think that this is a positive step forward for the year?
There are lots of great ideas in the budget. It's a big number. It's a bit of a scary number, if you will, because it's over $100 billion. It's the longest budget ever. And it builds in a number of assumptions that interest rates stay low and that these investments pay off in growth in order to pay for the debt. What I don't like is that there is no contingency lines built into the budget. So all of the assumptions have to be right or the numbers will go off. There's no buffer, if you will. And so we applaud the supports for business, the continuation of the COVID supports. I think the notion of finally having a real push with real money behind a national daycare program is important, because women have been hit particularly hard by this crisis. And if we're going to get full participation by women in the economy, we need to have affordable, accessible daycare. Glad to see that, but still lots of details to be worked out. And we have to hold the government accountable. It has to execute and deliver on these programs, or the debt will run out of control.
Now, Rocco, thank you so much for your time. As you know, a lot of our TLN viewers are entrepreneurs. They are small business owners. So I would love to know if there's any last words of advice you have for them during these difficult times.
Conserve as much cash as you can. Make sure you're leveraging all of the programs. Continue to hold yourself to the highest standards of safety for yourself, for your customers, for your employees. We're going to get to the other side of this together.
Rocco, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure always. Thank you, Camila.